It rises at the heart of a continent, a fortress, a city, a symbol. The Kremlin is not one thing, it is many things: palace and prison, cathedral and citadel, seat of power and stage of history. For centuries, kings and tsars watched the Moskva River from its walls. Revolutions marched past its gates. Empires were made and remade in its courtyards. But what if that symbol, the Kremlin itself, were not crimson or white, but cloaked entirely in black? Not the red of revolution, but a black that speaks of inevitability, authority, and shadow. Hey everyone, welcome back to Eclipse Black. On this channel, we ask one question: what if the world was black? From monuments to myths, from nature to nations, we reimagine how the most powerful color of all could transform our reality. And today, we turn to one of the most loaded symbols of modern power, the Kremlin. History and walls. The Kremlin stones remember princes and patriarchs. Its first wooden walls were built centuries ago. Later, stone ramparts rose to protect a growing city. Cathedrals were raised inside its walls, gilded domes, icons, and sermons, while tsars furnished palaces with gold and velvet. In 1917, the world changed. The Bolsheviks painted the city's iconography red, and the Kremlin became a new kind of center: revolutionary, ideological, commanding. Red flags flew from its towers, and the color came to mean revolution itself. But imagine the fortress reborn in deep matte black, the white facades and colorful domes swallowed by shadow, the red banners replaced with an eternal midnight. What would that say to citizens, to rivals, to history, architecture, and visual power? Architecturally, the Kremlin is a collage: onion domes, Italianate facades, Byzantine echoes, and later Soviet additions. Its towers punctuate the skyline like exclamation marks. In black, those towers would not charm, they would intimidate. The gold crosses and gilded icons would glow like distant, forbidden light. The whole silhouette would read less as a city of faith and ceremony, and more as a citadel of destiny. A black Kremlin would be monument as omen, lightest highlights edged in gold, walls absorbing the day, and at night the towers would appear as voids cut into the sky. Symbolism and politics. Color is political. Red once stood for revolution, communal ideal, upheaval. White once meant tsardom and church. Black means something else: permanence, inevitability, authority that needs no celebration. A Kremlin in black would not shout ideology. It would assert fate. It would tell both domestic audiences and foreign capitals, this is not a moment, this is an order. Diplomacy would change. Ceremonial processions would gain a new choreography. Propaganda would lean less on slogans and more on the visual grammar of shadow. Psychology and public space people respond to buildings. Monuments teach us how to behave. A darker Kremlin would change how Muscovites walk, how tourists pose, how leaders stage their gestures. The aura of the square would shift from festive pageantry to solemn ceremony. Even habitual jokes or irreverent postcards might fade. The weight of black compresses lightness into reverence. Standing before a black Kremlin, a foreign leader might not only calculate policy, they might feel small, watched, as if answering to an inevitability rather than a government. Cultural reflection. Art, music, and literature would reinterpret the city. Postcards would sell midnight silhouettes instead of red banners. Filmmakers would stage thrillers in its shadow. Poets would recast its domes as obsidian altars. The symbolism of black would fold into national identity, not by erasing the past, but by recasting it. Revolution becomes ritual, ceremony becomes decree. Philosophical close buildings are stories made solid. The Kremlin in black would not simply be a repainting, it would be a recoding of history, a statement that power can be aestheticized into inevitability. Maybe that is why imagining it feels ominous. Black has the power to make things feel final. And perhaps the deepest question is this: do we want our monuments to remind us that history is made, or that history is owed to something inevitable? Because here on Eclipse Black, we ask one question: what if the world was black? Thank you for watching Eclipse Black. If you enjoyed this journey, don't forget to like, comment. Would you admire a black Kremlin or fear its presence? Subscribe for more bold reimaginings.